record. All right, this is an OBS open Q&A. If anybody comes in later, that's fine. If you guys have any questions, that's fine too. I'm going to show you a couple of things, really talk about the menu of OBS and things you can do and things you may want to do. I'm going to go over stuff like, I know Heather had some questions this week about audio and stuff like that. So I'm going to kind of show you what I do. It's going to be different because I use Voicemeeter, but I'm going to go over that. But just to kind of show you what I do and where I do. So you guys got to get a feel for that too. So we're going to talk audio and we're going to talk the menu items just to see where you can put things in and check things and that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, if you have any other questions about OBS, this is an open session. So if you want to open your OBS and you're like, man, I can't figure out how to do this, or this isn't working, or this is the time to ask this. Anybody that watches this later, if you're watching this later, I hope, if you have any questions, you can always just ask away and we'll do that kind of thing. So let me screen share. Let's see here. Share. All right, you guys seeing that?
Yep.
Okay. So basically, I have a bunch of scenes over here. When I do the opening, I do a 12-minute start that I used to do. We don't really do that anymore, then me only and all that kind of stuff. Because I use StreamYard, I don't do that anymore, the 12-minute, because our volume has to be on at that time. So that's why I don't, in order for you to hear the music and see the countdown timer and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I don't do that. But you can see I have a lot of scenes here, a lot of different things. I have the table camera, bottom window, two folks when there's a screen share on. I mean, I have all kinds of stuff that I've done. And that's just me experimenting and trying different things. To see what that's going to look like when I have those things. But anytime I have that, you have audio over here, and I bring in audio of, like, for example, today we have a Zoom meeting going on. So if I wanted to bring I like to bring in the Zoom sound separately. So for me to do that, as opposed to just desktop sounds. Andrew, is that somebody going by at your house or something?
Yeah.
Why don't you mute for a little bit, and if you have a question.
All right.
So here's my Voicemeeter setup, and I don't expect you, this isn't a Voicemeeter lesson, but I mean, it kind of is in showing you what I do. So I bring my mic in right here with this one. This is my mic. You can see it bouncing right now. When you guys talk on Zoom, I bring that in separate, and then I even labeled them Windows, Zoom, and then I didn't label that one, but that's my mic. So this is any Windows sound. So if I have Windows sound that I want to come in, and then I just allow it to come in based on, like, I can let you guys hear inside Zoom. B1 is Zoom, and that's how I let you guys hear. B2 is going out to my broadcast. This one goes out to the world. So if I am doing the game show or whatever, that's how I bring the sound. If I want to mute you guys while the intro is going on and myself, we can talk in here, but no one out there can hear. That's how I separate those sounds. Then right when the intro ends, I usually get someone like Richard out there that says, hey, how come there's no sound, or Russ? And then I have to hit B2, and that brings the sound in. That's usually when I forget, because I turn it off so we can talk in the green room kind of while the intro is going on, and then I kick that back on. So that's just to kind of give you an idea of how I'm bringing sounds in and out. Where that all happens up here, if I go up to the file menu, settings, and then audio, remember I said B2 and B1, I've labeled those, B2 and B1. So that way I separate them here, and you can see when my mic's on, it's bouncing. You see how that's bouncing there. Okay, that's obviously it's going to be coming through the B2 because I've turned that on and now that's off. If I go over and turn B2 off, you'll see in OBS that goes away. You see how it's not bouncing? So on Zoom, I'll go over here, I turn B2 off. This is just my way. I don't mean to confuse everybody, but this is the way I use it so I can turn on and turn off sounds for those specific things. I have individual control of those things. And this is where I bring all that into OBS. So when you guys talk, B1, if you look at the Zoom, let me see if I can show Zoom and it not go all wonky on me. Hopefully it won't, but we'll see. So this is Zoom. In my settings for Zoom under the mic, if you notice, see how it says voice meter B1? Voice meter B1 is just for Zoom. So if I bring in the Zoom sound, that's how I can isolate that sound. My headset's going off. Somebody just say something. It done.
Something.
All right.
Something else.
Thank you. So that's how I isolate the B1 and the B2 and how it shows up in OBS and then how it shows up elsewhere. So what I do as well, when I go to StreamYard, you guys know that I've been using StreamYard lately. So when I'm doing a live broadcast, I can go to the settings. And if you notice here, I bring in B2. It's totally controlled. This is what's being sent out to the world. Remember how I said B2 sends out to the world? Like I turn off B2 for you guys and B2 for my mic. That's how I stop StreamYard from hearing that. But the desktop Windows sounds, I leave that on. So they hear the music in the intro from my desktop sounds, but our sound is off. Then when I'm ready to go, I turn those on sometimes. and then B2 goes out to StreamYard. You can see it's now, if I turn that off, that microphone should stop working, and it does stop working because B2 is not being sent to StreamYard. If I turn it back on, boom, there it is. But you guys could hear me inside the Zoom in here because I never turned B1 off. I never turned B1 off. So for example, let me just kind of move some stuff around so you can kind of see. Let's see if we can get this to all show. So if I turn B2 off, it's not being broadcast. You see how the mic stopped going. If I turn B1 off, you guys won't. See, that you guys could not hear me, correct?
Correct.
Right. See, so that's how I isolate who hears what and that kind of stuff. So I showed you inside of Zoom, except for B1. I showed you inside of StreamYard, except for B2. So that's how I determine who's getting the sound sent out and what. That's how I can control and boom. And I know that seems, oh my God, that's so confusing. Those that don't use Voicemeeter can't do these things. They can do it when they send directly to YouTube. This is what the issue that Heather was having. They can do it when they send directly to YouTube, but they can't through StreamYard because StreamYard can't break those sounds out individualized. It just has one thing and that's it. So they either get her mic or they get the desktop sounds. Okay. So, and I'm going to show you down at the bottom here. If I right click and I open sound settings, everybody see that down the bottom corner? Okay. When I click that, I'm going to go to sound control panel in Windows. This is in Windows. I don't know on a Mac. Okay. So now I got where I wanted. So right here, see how all this correlates. If you look at the default, you see down here where it says the default, that's the Voicemeeter VIO. Okay. And if you look over here, I'm going to bring this back so you can kind of see. Voicemeeter VIO is right here. You see VIO? That's my Windows sound. Voicemeeter Windows monitor. So that's every bit of my Windows sounds comes into VIO, and that's how I control that. Recording, what do you think it's going to be for the default? The default is the Focusrite USB microphone. That's my actual microphone. Okay. So I actually have the mic directly going there for those particular things. But if you notice, my Voicemeeter controls that mic. Okay. So that's the way I have the sound settings. I know this seems really confusing, and I'm glad we're recording this because you'll be able to watch this again. If you ever decide to go the Voicemeeter route, you can. But I just wanted to see how things match and how I make all those things work, especially with OBS if you're using OBS, because the audio, this is what determines those things. You know, everybody says, well, how come you don't use desktop audio here? Because I want to control it as if it's a microphone. So that's why I put it under microphone and then microphone 2, auxiliary or whatever. That's why I want to do it that way, because then I can treat it as sound coming in under my control.
Michael.
Yeah.
Question. Can I assume that on one of your 510 monitors that you have both Voicemeeter and OBS, that you can see them both and it's a mouse click away? Is that correct?
Yes, it is indeed. Whenever I do a show, I have OBS like this on my bottom monitor. You see where that is, right?
Yeah.
Then on my bottom left monitor, I have Voicemeeter just sitting there just like this. So I know if I'm looking to the left, it's probably because I'm turning off the sound.
Right.
I'm looking over here, I'm turning off the sound. So yes, absolutely. It might be covered by something, but I have where I can hit it with a mouse and access it if I need to. So yes, it is a viable, but you could use the bottom, your taskbar.
Yeah.
I can just open up Voicemeeter and boom, it'll pop up on one monitor. It's just tougher to do when you're, if you're trying to make things flow and stuff. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I take advantage of that while I can. Anytime I can, I try and do that. So the other thing is okay, so on this menu, you have a lot of different things. One thing that someone asked me the other day under settings, they said, when you're streaming, do you send to, what do you do? And I don't even need the stream key because I'm going through StreamYard to get to stream. I don't ever go live. I don't start recording or start streaming from here ever. All I'm doing is using this for my camera. I'm using and I have a whole video on this, anybody that hasn't seen it, but I have the virtual camera that I have set up. And all I'm doing is using this, like you, Russ, you use ManyCam. I'm just using OBS because I can get all these scenes set up to go to wherever I want. If I need to go to my table camera real quick, I can go there and I can see my cell phone and I can show stuff on my cell phone.
Okay, so OBS is for video. Yes.
For streaming.
Voicemeeter for sound.
Voicemeter's just for sound. Yes, Voicemeter.
And OBS, and the way you have it, because you have sound on Voicemeter, video is on OBS.
Yes. So exactly. So I'm not bringing the sound through OBS at all. I'm bringing in your sound from Zoom.
Right.
You're right. I'm using that. I'm using OBS as my video player, basically.
Right.
Yeah,
you control what we see.
Exactly.
In OBS, and you control what we hear through Voicemeter.
Correct. That's exactly right.
And where it goes doesn't matter for the topic at hand.
That's right.
Okay.
I mean, well, okay.
And you have control on where it goes.
Yeah, that's the reason I use Voicemeter, is because I can control. Hey, I want them to hear this, what you guys are saying in Zoom, so I can broadcast that out if I want to. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Last night, I believe that you had sound going on while you were drawing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a slow music.
Could not hear it. I every once in a while I could hear it, but I didn't hear it as loud as I expected it, because I thought you had put sound. Now, if that was the case, the fact you had some music going while you were drawing, would that have come from Voicemeter and the volume on their desktop was not as loud as it could have been?
That's a great question. That's an excellent question. What was being told to me by the people inside Zoom? They were saying, "Oh, that's awfully loud," and I didn't want it to. I didn't want it to distract Heather and I
Right,
from drawing.
right, right.
I was just doing a little background sound. But if you look right here, this one right here would have controlled that.
Okay.
So I could have turned that up, and it would have been good. I have no control over the volume going to Zoom. They would all have to turn their headset down that's in the Zoom. But yeah, if I would have known that, I mean, that's good to know, because now I know to turn that up a bit. I can leave that about right here. The only problem is that intro that I had was super loud. It blew them away. Oh. All of them went, whoa! They were all taking their headset.
So inside yeah. Zoom,
OBS
or OBS, it was very loud. But
yeah, what I should have done. Here's what I should have done, and these are all great points. And here's what I should have done. I should have taken that intro and gone like this and turned this down. You see how that meter's going down?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I should have done with that music sound. And then what I could have done is actually gone way up with the other one. You know what I'm saying? With the background music. And to find that balance, I don't get to monitor that. Right. I mean, I get to monitor it, but it's not the same for me, because I have a volume control on my headset. So because I have a volume control on my headset, that doesn't mean you have the same volume and that person has the same volume. Right. So it could be different for all of us. So, and some people have earbuds where they have no control over that. So I have to kind of maintain that. That's
exactly.
That's where I should have made the adjustment. That's where I should have made the adjustment. But that's a great question when it comes to volume and what's going out. So it was probably really faint background music, and you only heard it every once in a while.
Yeah. Now, OBS, I'm trying to figure out if OBS is where I would want to go to replace ManyCam. Now, what I do basically is three things. One, I have a countdown clock going at the beginning of our show.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I do is I bring in a comment in the upper right-hand corner of my screen, the Zoom comment, the webinar comments, not covering everything that's being displayed, but it's in the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to show it on my. You see a black box in the upper right-hand corner?
Yeah.
I use that to let Mert know that I have a comment. Now, when I bring in the comment, I don't have chat open, so it'll be a black screen. But if I bring in a comment, then it turns black. Mm-hmm. The comment will come in. So
yeah. Now,
because I'm thinking of resources on the computers what I'm trying to get at, because I believe ManyCam at times is a resource hog.
Right.
It's not out of control, but sometimes. So if I go to OBS, to me, for what I do, those three things that I do, it sounds to me like OBS is overkill. I may be wrong, but it may be overkill. So is there advantage, thinking about resources on the computer, is there a benefit for me to, and I've already done this, by the way, in the past, and I thought I had OBS loaded on this computer, but I couldn't find it just now. But
gotcha.
Does it make sense to do those scenes in OBS, OBS rather than ManyCam?
A great question. In the past, ManyCam was more of a resource hog than OBS was, and that's why I made the move. And once I learned OBS and I understand it, here's the deal too. If I ever decide to go to XSplit, it's more common with OBS than it is ManyCam. ManyCam is just a whole different thing. And they may have cleaned up the back end as far as ManyCam goes. Okay. All right. So I think that I think that to answer your question, I think one over the other is fine. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there's any one that's better. As far as overkill, I know people that have 3 scenes and that's all they use. Heather's example, she only has 4. That's all she has is 4 scenes. And obviously, and obviously when you look at mine, I have whatever this is. I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. See, but what I tend to do is, and this is not a good example, I'd have to switch over, but if I do, then this thing isn't going to work and it'll mess up, because every time you switch to a different scene collection when you're screen sharing all that stuff, it screws up. But what I've done, if you notice on the game show, I have these individual players. Like this might be, like you have positions you're in, spot 1, spot 2, spot 3, spot 4, spot 5, based on Zoom. So I named this here, spot 1, spot 2, spot 3, spot 4, spot 5. I have all those spots. Instead of sitting there doing that in every single window, bringing that zoom and sizing it up in each one, I already have it sized up. All I have to do when I make this is I have to push it wherever I want, and then it stays there. So when you guys come in the game, you're already there. So there's things like that that I can do that I couldn't do in ManyCam. Example, you know, when you guys give me a super chat or whatever, and that money and all that stuff comes in, if you look, you see where it says right here, YouTube YT alerts, YouTube alerts. I have YouTube alerts, and then I have that show up. It's not going to show you anything because it's pulling from that website where all that's put in. So right there is YouTube alerts money, okay? And anytime I do that, that's where it comes in. So for example, let me just go over there so you can see what it's going to look like. Hold on. Let's go here. Let's go. Who is that? There's Mike. Am I on the, let me see if I'm on the YouTube side. I think I am. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm not. I'm on the, let me log out. Okay. So if I log out, come back into the YouTube side of things. Yes. Yes. Have to go through all the you don't need to see me going through the processes and all my secret. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So now if I have a super chat that comes in, that's what I have it green screened. And then I have the money with flying with all that kind of stuff. And I love the $97 donation. Thank you, Michael Daniels. Now, so that's a test one. So you can do that test anytime you want. If I have a new subscriber, boom, I have that go off and you get all that and you get the sound effects and everything. So that's how I do that. Now, but if I'm over on me only, see how I set that up as an individual scene. So I don't have to recreate that every single time. What I do is I go here, I go to plus, add a scene, and then I can bring in YouTube alerts, YT alerts. And by doing that, that allows me to put that in every scene. So if I go to bottom window, I still get YouTube alerts. If I go to table camera, I don't have it. But 2 people, I get YouTube alerts. So any scene I go to, all I have to do is bring that scene in. To me, that's, you can do that where ManyCam, you can't do those kind of things. That's why I like to have, you know, like I said, each individual person, bottom camera, 2 people, adding a guest. I can have scenes with 3 people. If I have a guest, you know, that kind of thing gives me those opportunities that I can switch to like that. And to me, this is words. I work better by words than, and I think ManyCam does words, but I think it's squares that you have to remember what they are and what they do. I think, if I remember correctly, which is fine. I mean, and I used it, you know what I'm saying? I used it and it was fine. But what's nice is if I'm here me only and I have YouTube alerts, I can still get that super chat and it comes right over the screen. It's already green screened out. It comes over the screen and I can put that up and it's real, you know, that's the kind of cool, or a new subscriber or whatever, and that kind of thing. So that's the way, to me, this is why I use these things to make that happen.
So those, the super chat and new subscriber is there all the time, and it automatic. Do you have to do anything to bring so we can see it? It just automatically happens. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because I use a program. Okay, so this is Streamlabs OBS. Okay, so this is like OBS on steroids. They call it Streamlabs OBS. They call it slobs. Streamlabs OBS. And this is the alert boxes. So all I'm doing basically, I'm not stealing, but as soon as if I'm working on the super chat, I can go right here and copy the URL for that. It gives me the URL, and then
you're not screen sharing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Appreciate it. So this is Streamlabs OBS right here. This is what it looks like. I can sign in through my YouTube or my Twitch. If I was, getting bits or whatever, I'm not monetized over there, so it doesn't matter. But I go over here to alert box over here on the left. And then here's where I test it. I can test super chats and all that kind of stuff. I can test when a subscriber comes in. Any of the stuff that you can do on YouTube is right here. So right here, here's where I just copy that URL. It gives you a URL for that when you want to send that. So all I've done, if you go over here to OBS, the YouTube alerts, I've just copied that. If I go to properties, there's that URL. It just puts that URL right there. So that's all I've done. And that's how I sneak it in using their program. And the reason I don't go strictly to Streamlabs OBS is because they don't have virtual camera. And I use virtual camera. I bring my stuff in every single time. Like even on StreamYard, when I use StreamYard, I'll bring in my OBS virtual camera because I want to be able to do all this stuff. I want to be able to show when I get a super chat. I want to be able to show my camera, my table camera. So if I want to go to that and show my phone, I can. You know what I'm saying? I can immediately go to that. And I've just switched scenes to do that.
So what we're seeing in Zoom of you, that is your virtual camera?
No. So am I screen sharing right now?
No.
Oh, that's why you didn't see what I just did. Okay. Okay. So what you're seeing of me is just my C920 camera.
Okay. In Zoom. Okay. In Zoom.
Yeah, right now. Okay, so right now, let me just show you this way. Right now, I have my C920 camera chosen. So if I switch over to my OBS camera, now you see my screen. Now you see that's the virtual camera.
Oh, okay.
That I'm using. So if I show my bottom window or my table camera now you'll see the phone.
Right.
Yeah. So or if I want to show my bottom window, I can show you there's what I'm doing in OBS with my phone, whatever. That's my scene, and it's it's doing the mirror thing because I'm showing a scene of a scene of a scene of a scene. But yeah, this is why I use the OBS virtual camera for my camera all the time. And this is how, like during the game show, those guys that are playing, this is how they get to see what I'm doing. They don't get to see the actual broadcast because they don't get to see the comments come up on screen, all that kind of stuff, because my OBS camera is thrown to StreamYard, and StreamYard handles the comments and stuff, and that's what gets sent out. So it skips the Zoom and what's going on here. I don't know if that's probably really confusing.
So that's why if I'm in the game, I don't see the score unless you have that. When you're in the center, sometimes we'll see the score, but if I'm on the outside, I will see the score more.
The reason, okay, so I have it set up, okay, let's just say for PlusWord. You see the score in PlusWord whenever you're going or whoever's going.
Right. When you have the two
exactly. Right. That's the only time I have the score. I could set it up so that score is being seen all the time, but score is not that important, Russ. It's about playing. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I mean, yeah, that's my choice to do that. Like in the game last night, in the drawing game, I actually have that come up in every scene. So you always see what the score is. So that's just me on my end.
As long as the host remembers to change the score.
True. true. That is very true. Yeah, no, there is that. But at the same time, that is totally done on OBS and what's being casted out. The only thing that you don't see when you're inside Zoom is the comments, because that's being handled by StreamYard after my virtual camera is being sent there. Like when I do the show with Heather on, it's totally StreamYard, but I have my OBS. I use an OBS virtual camera for me, not for the show, just for me. So you can see my Game of Thrones and all that kind of stuff. So then when I go to or I get a super chat, I have to make my screen big, and then everybody sees the money come down or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. And then I shrink it back to us and the guests and everything else. That's all being done because it's only happening on my OBS that I'm sending as a virtual camera. Does that make sense? I mean, I don't want to get too confusing, but yeah, okay. So that's why I do the OBS virtual camera as my camera all the time. Like here, I'm doing it, that kind of thing. Sometimes I come off of it just because maybe I'm demoing it. So I might just go to my C920 here. So now it's just my C920. I'm not using the virtual camera right now, but I can always switch to it and go back to it. So now I am using it. And my OBS virtual camera is using my C922. And then when I switch over to my C920, I can just go right there.
Oh,
and it comes back over there.
That's why the focus sometimes is a little bit fuzzy on the 922, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And especially on OBS, a lot of times for whatever reason, you have to go into, and I'm going to show you this because this is a good one. We're talking about it. We might as well go to it. So like right here, you see the C922 is one of the choices. This is my C922. I have to right click, go to properties. And a lot of times you can kind of see that's fuzzy. I need to fix the green screen on it. So what I'll do is I'll go in here, right click, go to filters, chroma key, and I have to clean it up a little bit. Take some of that fuzz out. There, now it's clear. See how it's clear? It just cleared the background. There's no more fuzz there.
Yep.
All the edges look pretty good. Everything looks good. And OBS is just very known for this. You have to go in and change settings just about every show. And you can see how that's see how it's kind of fuzzy when it shows up there on above my right shoulder or left shoulder or whatever the hell. No, my other right. Okay. So if I go into filter, I usually pull it off to the side so I can see what it's doing. So if I go to the chroma key, I can adjust smoothness. See, if I just adjust the smoothness just a little bit, it took all that fuzz away. And then I can hit close.
Is that just some of the reflection of the green on the back of the chair?
It could be different lighting. It could be the lighting's a little different. Maybe my chair's moved a little bit. It could be all kinds of different things. And I don't know why I have to redo it every single time. But the other thing that I do too is I go to properties, and right here I'll configure video. This allows me to go into the video software, and like right here, this is why it's happening. I'm telling you right now. See how that checks on white balance on auto? I have to turn that off almost every time. And then I come over to camera control. See how these check marks are here on auto? I have to turn those off, hit apply, and hit OK. And I almost have to do that every session. But if you look, to me, this is a lot clearer than it was even earlier. I have to go in and make those adjustments in there almost every time I load up.
So you just explained to me, gave me hints for a very important aspect of using the tools that you use, in that you start your routine for a show well in advance. Well is a loose term, but you're not gonna come in, sit down, and start the show. You're going to do some prep work, and I know what it's like for the game show. You know, if I'm going to be on the game show, I'm going to be there an hour ahead of time. So when you're ready, I'm ready. And sometimes working with Mert, she's not always doing that. A perfect example was Wednesday. I had an update, and I restarted my computer twice in advance, and I do this routinely an hour in advance. Well, what I didn't know is that an update to Stream Deck didn't take effect, because I couldn't do anything video-wise, or I would come in and I was flashing, but I had no update in Zoom or anything else. And I restarted the computer, but I had a flashing video, but she didn't come in until 15 minutes ahead of time. What I had to, and I didn't know that I was waiting. I had everything set up like I normally do. But as soon as she came in and we got into Zoom, I had software that was conflicting. I did not have time to restart my computer and reconfigure everything that I had set up. And I did not join. She started the webinar before I could get back in. So I say that because in reality, I tried to be there when I'm ahead of time. My computer's restarted so that I have time to recover. But using the tools that you do as the host, you start your thing well in advance of the time that you want us to be there. Is that pretty clear?
Yes. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And even if I am a guest on someone else's show, I use my OBS virtual camera so I can, if I want to show them something, I can quickly. I can show them my mobile phone. I can show them whatever I can do. So yes, absolutely.
And that's why I use Manicam. I'm using Manicam right now because I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm comfortable in doing. I can do
what
anything.
You do.
I can do anything, and I am set up to. If I'm going to be here,
perfect.
I'm going to do that as soon as I saw the announcement that you were going to do this, and I wanted to watch today anyhow. As soon as I saw that you were going to be ready in a half hour, I started Manicam, and I already had Zoom set up. I was already had Zoom on. So that I was ready whenever you send the link. As soon as you sent the link, I was there.
Here's one thing that to me is an advantage with OBS, because I used to do this. I don't do it anymore because I feel comfortable with what I'm doing, and that's part of. But when I first started, I'm going to screen share again. What I've done in the past, I'll show you my YouTube channel. You guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. You see that one that says test and unlisted? Right here, this is a test one. It's the second one listed, and then it says unlisted. I always, remember what I said, I go to StreamYard. StreamYard handles everything. OBS doesn't handle a thing. So if I want to test my OBS to see if all the cameras are working and all the different scenes are working, I immediately start a test, and over here, I make sure that the stream key, I go into settings, and I go to stream, and I make sure that stream key is the stream key for this one. So if I go to the live control room, you're going to see the stream key. Oh God, I hate this with the new one. They automatically take you to the new one, but that's the stream key. I take that stream key right here and I copy it, and I make sure I have that. And if I have that, then what I can do is I just put that right here into OBS, and I can do a quick stream. It's unlisted. It doesn't go out to anybody, but I can test, and I can go look at YouTube, and I can see every single thing, make sure that all my scenes are. I used to do that when I first started. I always have that. I'm always proactive versus reactive. Last night, I was in an hour early. Heather and I got in an hour earlier because she was bringing her iPad in, and I was bringing in my Pixelbook. That's how we drew, and you saw it on screen. So we wanted to come in and test that. Each person was not in their spots yet, so it didn't show up right on OBS, but I've done this enough times to know that when I get those 6 people in, I'm including our tablet and everything else, when I have those 6 things in Zoom, I know what to do. And then I know Heather dropped off one time. Andrew can attest to this. Heather dropped off. What I had to do was I had to put people on hold in Zoom, and then re-enter them in accordingly. And I always leave the last 2 spots to the iPad and the, but I've learned this. This is stuff I've learned over time, that those need to be the number 5 and number 6 spots.
Well, you get into your routine, and then anything new is one-off.
Yeah, exactly. But it was a process before I got there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I use Google Keep as a checklist. I used to come in and just hit that and just go through each one so I didn't miss anything. Or if I needed to add something, I said, oh yeah, you know what? I need to do this before this. I could drag it up and do that. So I used Google Keep for that, to give me a checklist when I first started doing it. I haven't used a checklist in probably, a year now, because I know. But if I have a new game, or something, or one that we hadn't played the playing with matches in a long time, I had to get back into a routine. So I made sure, checking my camera, doing all those things you just saw me do on my camera, making sure that that's locked in and I get a better view, because I knew that it'd be screwed up. And anytime you reboot your computer, it always has to reset in OBS. You always have to do something. That's just a habit to get into. But check it. I mean, that's how I check it. I send a video to YouTube. It's a great checks and balance kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? You can say, okay, this is what's going to go out there. This is what it's going to look like. And if I want to use StreamYard through that same process, I can set the link to that, I'll pull up that test video, like you saw me, the unlisted one, and do the same thing. I can see it, the whole process there. Whatever all the processes are, I can see those and get those. And if I know that Heather and I are coming on Wednesday's show, but Heather's not available to test that with me, she can't come in early, I'll go in with my phone. So at least I still have 2 people. It's me and my phone, so I can come in with 2 people and still test all those things and see those things out. OBS, there's just some conveniences that it gives me over Manicam, just some things. And it's all a learn thing. It's all a learn thing. That being one is that I can go live with it. I can do that right away and test it, and I can immediately see what I'm doing. Some of those little things, I like the fact that I can adjust my video in OBS, like you saw me do, configure my video, and also, adjusting things like that. I like the way it does some of those things. I'm sure, I mean, if OBS went away and they decided to charge or whatever, and I wanted to go to XSplit, that change is going to be easier for me because it's kind of set up with scenes and sources. Those kind of things, and it'll be very familiar to me, and it's just what you learn, is what you dig into, and I get it. Listen, I loved Manicam. I used it all the time. At the time, it was a huge resource hog, and I just couldn't do it, and I didn't have a strong computer that I have now. So just to be fair there, this is a super fast system, and it also the OBS. The OBS used to be a resource hog as well. It depends on all the stuff that you have open. Now I have, oh my gosh, I have 16 tabs open on my Chrome. I have this, but I'm also using some of those. I'm using the timer from an online timer thing. I use the scorekeeping as a Google Doc that I just have it in a spreadsheet that I'm able to pull the little square of what's going on up on screen. I mean, there's a lot going on. So, that's the way that process is. What else? Any other questions OBS related that you wanted to ask or you can think of? Glad to answer. I hear you, Tom, making noise over there. Yeah, one thing that it's funny, you're gonna laugh at me, but even with 5 monitors, I shrink my. Like when I'm doing the show, I'll show you real quick. My OBS is over here. It's like over in the corner, and it's as small as you can get. I got it as small as I can. But see, I use the Stream Deck to switch scenes. So I don't have to worry about going over here and hitting each one of these. I can use the Stream Deck to pull that in. But even with 5 monitors, I'll have like the scorekeeping right here, and I'll have the timer right here, and then I'll have OBS right here. And then I'll have up above, it just depends on which game, but I'll have like on the drawing game, I had the images of what was being drawn up top, and I had, it's just crazy. It's crazy, some of the stuff. And there's tricks there too that I learned from Zoom, because Zoom, when you record without using dual monitors, when you record, like at the end of this, it'll probably have like a little film strip over on the right-hand side if I'm recording in Zoom. That drives me nuts because if I'm demoing and there's something up, a lot of times that's where your menu is, up in the top right. It covers it, and there's no way to change that. So that's why a lot of times I don't record in Zoom, but just because of that. And I have to come out of dual monitors, which I don't want to come out of dual monitors because right now with dual monitors, I see you guys in Zoom, and then I have over there whatever's going on. I have another monitor, a Zoom monitor that's showing me. That's what I use for screen share. So when I do a screen share, you 6 people, all of us 6 people stay where they're supposed to be because that's what I'm pulling your images in for. But my screen share is over there that I can pull the screen share in separately.
As Mert's host, I do the same thing because I want to see what the panel is doing. So that's on my left monitor. What I have a third monitor that has the score or the countdown clock that we use, and the chat I keep is a small chat window, but I can put it any place, so I can just bring it in through Manicam because Mert will ask me all the time, "Am I screen sharing? Is my branding up?" However, she has her 3 monitors. I don't know, but I know I want to see the panel. I want to see the comments, participants, but I want to see what's being broadcast. Now, what I don't see though in Zoom is really what's being seen on the outside, because I don't see the host or who's ever speaking that's in somewhere on that screen. I don't know until I go look at the recording where the speaker is.
Yep.
And what Mert has been doing is bringing, when she's screen sharing, she'll, on her branding, which is her desktop, she will bring over the speaker view or panel view, speaker view or panel view, and she'll drag it over her desktop so we can see so the outside can see what we're seeing on the inside. Now, she won't do that during the presentation, and what I can't see as co-host is I can't see where that
what's being presented. What's being presented?
I see the presentation, but I don't see where that speaker is. And Andrew and I have talked about that when I watch the Zoom webinars, where that chiclet is, because I'm seeing it from the outside, but I don't see where that chiclet is while I'm on the inside.
No, you're right. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
But what I'm watching is what Mert is presenting, or if we have a guest, what is being presented on the outside.
Yep, exactly. Yep. That's another reason why I like to use the dual monitors in Zoom, because that gives me the opportunity to have whatever's being presented over here, but then I can yet have all the people in here that are in the actual Zoom that I can bring into the presentation or whatever. And usually what I do, so I don't get the mirror effect where with my video, whenever I show what's on my camera, I just hide myself. I just go in and hide myself. You can right click on your 3 dots up there and it says hide self view in Zoom. And that's what I do. So, and it's only for me. It's not hiding it for all you guys, but it's just hiding it for me. So then that's how, if I have 6, and I just use my C922 from my OBS. Remember I showed you that. That's how I'm bringing myself is the C922, because I can just make that whatever. That's where I can add the background that I have for my Game of Thrones or whatever. I can make that however I want. I could actually put a game show thing back there if I wanted.
Are your 2 cameras right next to one another?
Yeah, I have 3 cameras. They're all on top of my.
Okay.
I have 3. Yeah, I have 3. Okay. 2 C920s and 1 C922, and they're all right here. Yep, I can go from this C920, which is kind of further over. This is the furthest one over. And if I go to this C920, This is more in the middle. And then if I go to the C922, which I can't do that because I'm in OBS virtual camera, but that's right here. So it's like there, there, and there. That's where they're all right here on top of one of my monitors. That's the way I do that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing.
3 cameras. Like I need 3 cameras, but whatever. It's fun, you know. Like I said, it's a hobby for me, and it's just to seeing how much you can do or what you can do. You know, there's a lot of things that come into play. A lot of it was because of trial and error or making a mistake. I'm like, you know what, I need to do this better. Here, how can I do that? And then figuring it out. Just like if you watch the game show last night with the drawing game, that's an alpha mask, which I did an OBS workshop on alpha mask versus green screen. I actually have like the top of the cans. I took that circle that's on the top of the can and I alpha masked that. So every one of our images is in a can. I did that on purpose. If you go back and watch very carefully,
yes, that was awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
I love that kind of stuff. That way you don't see the square, you know, you don't have to have anything showing through. Doesn't matter. It's right there on top of that can. It's kind of a cool thing. I love see that, but that was just, how am I going to get this to work? And I had Heather help me with the artwork on getting the paint and all that stuff right and everything. So
I would submit that those cans and what you do, you are branding your show. If Mert brands what webinar we're doing by somehow, and your cans or you're playing with matches, if I see that brand, I know what game we're playing.
Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, and I said I did that. It was so funny when we hadn't done it in like probably 3 years, and I said I'm gonna make this one. Let me embellish this a little bit and make this, give myself a challenge, and I did, and I came up with it. And I think it turned out really cool. I mean, it's very appealing when you're out there watching and stuff, and you can see us 4 in there, you know, that kind of thing. That's what I wanted to get out of it.
You've done good.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's fun trying those different things too. You know, even if I came up with a different game and what I was going to do. We're at the hour mark. Does anybody have any other questions?
Your cans are your second best that you've ever done, in my opinion. Your first one was the wine glass with the bubbles. That was the most outstanding thing I've ever seen. The motorcycles are gone. Thank God.
And you actually watched me make that one.
Yes.
That's probably why that sits in your mind there. What it was is that Heather had she wanted an intro for her show where it had every single person. So she had a circle with every single person. So what I did was I took a wine glass, because it's actually, I think if I'm not mistaken, I took that wine glass that was carved out with her logo that the guy did, that Jay did, and it had her logo on it. So it was all see-through. I had her take a picture of that. And what I did was I had the images start out like they were sitting on the top of that wine glass, and then I had it come up like bubbles, and it would shrink and be a bubble, and all of these people, all of the people that have ever been on her show or guest in her audience would come up in bubbles out of that wine glass. And that's what he's talking about on that one. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun sitting there just creating that and making that happen, because I had to make it because it's a see-through glass, so I had to make sure that I actually had to change the opacity of it a little bit till it got up out of the glass.
Yeah, the way they float on the surface and then they turn up and you could see the picture as they rose. It was fantastic.
See, I love that kind of challenge. I love that kind of stuff, doing that kind of thing. Anything OBS related that I can answer for anybody, because I'm going to stop the recording if anything, because like I said, we're at the hour mark. Does anybody have anything?
Thank you, sir.
Oh, that's all right. No worries. No worries. Glad to do it. I'm going to stop the recording then. And